Monica, leaders could declare a fiscal emergency today to get a handle on an ongoing budget crisis.
America, we just witnessed another spectacular failure of California's liberal leadership, and this one's gonna blow your mind. The city of Santa Monica, once called the golden child of LA County, just declared a fiscal emergency after paying out $229 million in sexual abuse settlements related to a former city employee who allegedly abused over 200. But here's the kicker, while they're crying broke from these massive payouts, they're still pushing forward with ambitious climate initiatives and demographic policy programs that will cost taxpayers millions more. This is California liberalism in a nutshell. Bankrupt cities still virtue signaling while their residents suffer.
Financial distress in Santa Monica, the city facing an ongoing budget crisis.
Walk through the Santa Monica Promenade and you'll find empty storefronts.
What is up, guys? Tyson Dela Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. This story perfectly shows you how California's failed policies and poor leadership have turned one of America's most beautiful coastal cities into a financial disaster zone. Let me break down Santa Monica's financial catastrophe for you because it shows you everything wrong with California governance. The city council just adopted a resolution declaring local fiscal distress based on the decreased revenue and increased liabilities. And the numbers are absolutely staggering.
Santa Monica leaders are grappling with really tough choices over its finances and its future. The city council will consider declaring a fiscal emergency tonight.
Both sides of the street have buildings up for lease here. Tough times. A lot of the businesses never really recovered after the pandemic.
The city has paid out $229 million in sexual abuse settlements related to allegations against Eric Uller, a former city employee who worked as a volunteer at Police Activities League starting in late 1980s. This monster allegedly targeted young Latino boys, some as young as 8 years old, for decades.
Now, the city of Santa Monica settled more lawsuits this week with up to 200 sexual abuse victims of former city employee Eric Uller. He worked as a volunteer starting in the late 1980s at the Police Activities League, a nonprofit after-school program.
But here's what makes this even worse. The city faces nearly 200 more claims related to the same former employee. So we're not even done with the financial bleeding. This could easily reach $500 million in total payouts. The settlements have been largely paid out by the general fund by borrowing $52 million from various city funds. The city's general fund reserves now stands at only 61% of pre-pandemic levels. Now let me tell you about Eric Uller and how this all happened, because it shows you the complete failure of city oversight. Uller joined the Police Activities League in 1980 to mentor troubled youth in the Pico neighborhood. Prosecutors say he immediately began targeting young Latino boys.
An attorney for the victims say this continued for years, even after many clues pointed to Uller as a serial abuser.
The employees of the Police Activities League and police officers knew that Eric Uller was doing some bad things, and they had a legal obligation to report it to LA County Sheriff's Department. But guess what? They didn't. Think about this. City employees and police officers knew this was happening and covered it up for decades. This wasn't just one bad actor. This was systematic negligence and institutional cover-up that allowed hundreds of children to be abused. Unfortunately, this scumbag was never punished for his crimes. In November 2018, just after more victims came forward to accuse him, Uller died by suicide in his Marina del Rey apartment. He escaped justice, but now the city is paying the price for decades of negligence. The fiscal emergency declaration comes as Santa Monica faces a perfect storm of financial disasters. Current fiscal year 2025 to 2026 budget projects $484.3 million in expenditures against $473.5 million in expected revenue, creating a structural deficit that the city anticipates will continue for several years.
The city has paid out legal settlements amounting to about $229 million. And then also the city council says that they've received a staff report saying that revenue is just uncertain given economic situation around right now.
The city's finances never really fully recovered from the C-19 pandemic. Back then, the city cut nearly 25% of its budget and eliminated over 400 permanent and temporary positions. But instead of learning from that crisis, they kept spending on liberal pet projects.
Mayor Lana Negretti says it's much more complicated than that.
This is not an emergency it's distress.
The mayor says the recent extension on the statute of limitations on sexual abuse claims have contributed to the situation.
Mayor Lana Negretti says this is not an emergency, it's distress. But when you borrow money from other city funds to pay settlements and your revenue is down 40% from pre-pandemic levels, it sounds like an emergency to me. The mayor is blaming the recent extension in the statute of limitations on sexual abuse claims. But that's not the real problem. The real problem is decades of negligence that allowed this abuse to happen in the first place. But here's what's absolutely insane about Santa Monica's priorities. While they're declaring financial distress, they're still pushing forward with expensive liberal initiatives that will cost taxpayers millions more.
The city report also cites regional and national economic uncertainties as leading to contributing factors here in Santa Monica, and among them are the tariffs, deregulation, even the mass deportation effort by the Trump administration.
Really? Trump's policies are responsible for Santa Monica's decades of negligence and mismanagement? If you walk through Santa Monica today, you'll see the real impact of liberal governance. Empty storefronts everywhere. John Alley, who's a manager of one of these properties, says,
"We've got an unsafe Santa Monica."
He says City Hall's handling of the homelessness problem and public safety have led to Santa Monica's current financial shortfall.
Critics say major retailers like Nordstrom leaving the Santa Monica Place Mall is part of a bigger problem. Our sales tax revenue is way down because people don't feel safe coming here.
A lot of the businesses never really recovered after the pandemic, or after a lot of them were vandalized and looted during the George Floyd injustice protests here. 70% of the stores in the Santa Monica Place Mall are now vacant here.
But instead of focusing on public safety and business recovery, the city is focused on climate initiatives and social justice programs. This is the California model. Prioritize virtue signaling over basic governance. Let crime and homelessness destroy your business district. Then blame everyone else when your city goes broke. So what's Santa Monica's solution to this fiscal crisis? More taxes, of course. The resolution on the financial distress would allow the city to start talks with the Coastal Commission, which the mayor says it would raise about $9 million a year. They're also presenting a resolution to council that would open up discussions with Sacramento to put a cap on sexual abuse claims. But here's the problem. You can't cap your way out of decades of negligence. You can't tax your way out of institutional failure. And you can't virtue signal your way out of fiscal emergencies. America, Santa Monica's fiscal emergency is a perfect example of California's failed governance model. For decades, city officials ignored warning signs about a serial abuser, covered up his crimes, and failed to protect hundreds of children. Now they're paying $229 million in settlements with 200 more claims pending. But instead of taking responsibility, they're blaming Trump's policies and asking for cap on victim compensation. Meanwhile, they're still pushing forward with expensive climate initiatives and social programs, while their business district is 70% vacant and residents don't feel safe walking the streets. This is California liberalism in action. Virtue signaling while your city burns. Blame others for your failures. Tax residents to pay for your negligence, and never take responsibility for the consequences of your policies. Santa Monica was once called the golden child of LA County. Now it's a fiscal disaster. The children who were abused deserve better. The taxpayers footing the bill deserve better. And the residents living in the consequences of failed leadership deserve better. Let me know what you guys think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.